Today we're going to talk about how to do a no spend year or month. Hello, my name's Rachel. If you don't follow me already, I do videos all about decluttering, minimalism and my no spend year. And today we're going to talk about how to do a no spend year, and then we're going to review my last year that I have done with my rules that I set up for myself and how I've got on with them, and then see what my plans are for the next year. But first of all, it's important to know what a no spend year is, or a no spend month is, and how you could do it yourself. So a no spend year or month is when you decide to completely limit how much money you are spending on everyday things that are kind of surplus things. So this is not talking about your bills, your essentials that you need to purchase, like you need to pay your household bills, you need to pay for food and petrol, etc. Those are kind of expenses, bill expenses. I'm talking about that leftover money, and that might be a little bit, it might be a lot, but with that extra money, what is it that you're doing with it? Are you going to the shops and just spending it on random stuff without a thought about what it is you're doing? And that used to be me. I used to spend probably £400 or £500 a month on I don't know what. It would be random stuff and I'd have nothing really to show for it. I didn't have anything to show that I was spending that amount of money. It was all knickknacks and rubbish, and it was just going on things that just weren't important. And they're not important if you have nothing to show for it or don't have any memories associated with the money that you spent. So I decided that I needed to clear my debt, and so that's how I got into my no spend year. I wanted to use any spare money that I had to pay off debt and then to start savings. If you're thinking about doing a no by month or year, it's going to be a really good way of you really thinking about how much money you are spending on non-essential items. The first thing I would suggest, so if we're thinking about how to do a no spend year, there are a couple of steps that you need to take to kind of set yourself up so that you can be successful. The first thing is that you need to know your why. Why is it that you want to do a no spend year? This is going to keep you motivated. You need to know what your reasons are. Are you trying to save money? Are you trying to pay for some holidays, clear debt, buy something for a friend or family member, pay for some extra bills that need paying? Think about what it is that is going to be your motivation, and that will keep you going. The second step is that you need to know what is coming in and what is going out. So the expenses section that we just talked about, that needs to be really well documented. You need to have that in a spreadsheet so you know exactly what's coming in, what's going out and when, so that you have a clear idea of what this figure is, your leftover income. Knowing your leftover income is going to help you to really manage that. Knowing that you have got £300 left over a month after bills means that you can really monitor what happens with that £300. So it might be that first of all you want to do a month where you just record everything that you spend, just so that you know what's happening. Because I think when I first started, I couldn't recall what I'd even spent in the last month with my extra income. It wasn't until I started logging all my receipts that I realised quite how much I could save and how much I was spending and wasting on things that didn't matter. So now that you know your income and you know your expenditure, it can really help you to understand what's going on here. It might be worth looking back at some old statements and seeing which shops or which cafes or which restaurants, etc. you are purchasing in, and kind of tallying it up in different categories. So this is a really helpful tool to really work out where it is you're spending the most money, or which area you might be able to reduce down in. So you might want to categorise into homeware, makeup if you're into makeup, it could be clothing, it could be activity days like days out, it could be restaurants, cafes, social activities, alcohol. Find out where it is you're spending your money so that you can have a real good idea of which areas you might want to save money in. So if you know that you're eating out once a week or you're having takeaway twice a week, that might be an area that you could then focus in and reduce down. Knowing how much you spend in one area will help you to know how to limit that area that little bit more. So that's your next step, is to decide how much you are going to give yourself for that spend amount. That could be that you categorise it again and you say how much you can spend in each category, or you could say you have £100 only, but you have to manage all of those different categories. So saving on some days out might mean that you could still be able to do some other activities instead. It just helps you to balance things a little bit more. Another area that might really help when you're trying to do a no spend month or year is one particular expense that you might be spending more than you think on. So food is one area where people spend a lot more than is necessary. If you think about how much food do you really eat, how much do you waste, how much do you end up throwing away or not using because you're not thinking about what you're doing with your food, get into the habit, if you can, of mapping out roughly what meals you're going to have for the week or the month, using up products that you've already got, and then only purchasing stuff on a list that you absolutely need to make those meals. This will help you to save some money in that area so that you have more leftover money. Another way that you can really do a no spend year, if you're thinking about the bigger picture here, is to have a sinking fund. So you might have heard this phrase thrown around. The idea of a sinking fund is that they are expenses that you know are coming up, and they can happen at various different times of the year, but you have already put that money aside for it so that you don't have to get yourself into any extra debt or wonder where the money's going to come from when that occasion happens. So for example, you might have a sinking fund that you set up now ready for next Christmas. So you might decide that you're going to spend a certain amount on each person that you buy for, and that money is going to get put aside into a savings account ready for next Christmas when you need it. So that you've already got the money there, you probably earn a little bit of interest, and it's ready to use. You don't have to find extra money from somewhere to afford it. It's already there. You could also use a sinking fund for birthdays. So if you know that you've got a certain number of people that you buy birthday presents for, how much you're going to spend for them roughly on their birthday, and then put all that money aside in one go, ready for the year ahead, so that you have got that bank of money ready for those things that are coming up. The same might happen for your MOT or your service for your car. You have that money set aside in that sinking fund so that when the time comes around, you have got the money ready. You're not trying to find the extra money from somewhere. Another tip to help you to be successful for a no spend month or year is to get other people involved and let them know that you're trying to cut down the amount of money that you're spending. And this just might mean that you say to people that you want to find free activities that you can do together so that you can still spend that time but without the cost that goes with it. So instead of big elaborate days out, you might say, can we go for a walk around our local park or local country park? This will just help you to be accountable, and they can help support you in that journey and understand it a little bit more. It's all about kind of developing that conscious, open conversation about money, which we are also taboo about doing. We don't seem to want to talk about money, but actually there's a lot that can be done to benefit each other by having a better understanding of how we can support one another, especially during the cost of living crisis that we're experiencing at the minute. So, as I said, I have done my own no spend year, and at the end of last year I set myself some rules for this year, so I'm going to share with you what my rules were so that we can discuss how I got on, basically. My 2022 rules for my no spend year. So you can do something similar. You might want to set up your own rules to kind of help you go through. You might decide that there are some areas that you're going to not track and spend as much money as you like on, and there's some areas that you're going to completely reduce down. So you decide what works for you. So at the beginning of 2022, I said that I was going to have a small amount for activities each month, and I feel like I have done that. I feel like we've done a lot more activities than we would usually do, and we got out a lot more, especially now that restrictions are much better. We're going to the theatre, etc. So we're doing lots of things that we really enjoy, and that has made a huge difference to how we feel. So I'm going to keep that one going, but I'm going to change it a little bit. The next rule was to only buy makeup when I run out, and this is very much something that I stick to. I'm not really one for buying much makeup anyway. I do a very basic makeup that I do exactly the same every single day, and I just change the eyeshadow. That's literally it. I don't have a big collection. It's very simple, but I will buy the things that I use for my makeup routine when they're on offer so that I've got the best price for it, basically. So that's something that I'm happy to continue with, and I think that's more of a habit now than necessarily what I need to have as a rule, but at least I can do that. Meal plan was another rule that I was going to have to make sure that I'm using up products in my food cupboard and making sure that I am planning my meals out so that I'm not last minute going for a takeaway or anything like that, or struggling to think of a meal. So it just helps me keep on track with my budget for food, and it just keeps me on top of things. I also said that I was going to batch cook some meals, and I have been doing that. I've been batch cooking. I did cottage pie the other day, I do soup, and what else did I batch cook? I batch cook roast potatoes usually, so that they are ready to cook from frozen. So I am doing that. I think that is definitely an area that I would like to do more of, so that they are ready in the freezer to get out the night before, ready to cook. So I want to improve on that one. The next one was to wait 30 days before making a purchase. I definitely do that. It took me 2 months to decide on a new sofa, and that was like a month or so looking online, a month or so of going in and out of the sofa shops and just seeing what I liked and what I felt would be suitable, and what colour was going to be what I wanted and lasting. So I did take a couple of months to decide, so I'm definitely doing that. I think about a product for at least 30 days before I will make a purchase. That is for big ticket items, obviously. If it's smaller items, I'm a little bit better at knowing whether or not it's needed or not, but for those bigger ones, I know that if I don't still think about it after a month, then I obviously didn't need it. Using up cleaning products, I definitely do that. Gift cards were to be allowed as treats, and I don't think I've got any this year anyway on Christmas or birthday, but I have used up gift cards and I was fine with that. I think with money that I got given as well, I used that as an opportunity to buy myself a new item that I wanted without the guilt associated with it being my purchase. So I do allow myself to have any birthday or Christmas money as a treat money, and that can be spent on whatever I like. I think it's important to have a bit of fun with some things and not put too much pressure. But if you're somebody that is needing to pay off debt, then absolutely do what you feel is necessary for the money that you are given. Reduce how often I get my hair cut. So I do only get my hair cut twice a year, and I get it coloured at the same time. So I have reduced that, and I'll keep to that twice a year because that seems to work for me. I think my colouring it's usually balayage, so it kind of fades out, but it just means it doesn't look like it needs doing. So I quite like that, and that works for me. Next was to hang washing rather than tumble dry. I haven't used a tumble dryer in a year now, so that is successfully achieved, and I don't need to think about that one. That is just a given now. I just hang things up, or I put them out when it's summer. Try to make gifts or be resourceful or thoughtful when giving gifts. I was really good last year, or this year, at the beginning of the year, of being more thoughtful. I think I've not made as many gifts as I would like to, but I think that's to do with the fatigue that I've been struggling with. So I just took that pressure off and just thought more carefully about what it was I was going to buy, if I did buy. And I only give gifts to essential people in my life. That was another target as well. And I do only give gifts to people that are really important. I don't give gifts to many people, to be honest. Small spend amount allocated and a maximum of 1 eating out a month. I probably do roughly stick to that. I don't go out excessively. Haven't been out since November, I think, so that's not too bad. Plan lunches for work and make these in advance, so I do that, so that's another achieved goal. Only go to the shop once per week, no additional pop into the shop. I am pretty good with that. I don't tend to do lots of nipping to shops. Reduce subscription packages. I've got rid of anything that is unnecessary already, so that's achieved. Pay for as many things as possible in advance for the year, so I do that for my car insurance. I pay that in one sum, and obviously other things I pay for in one go, but I don't have very many that are like direct debit things. I try and pay for them in advance. Not allowed to buy books or home goods unless replacements, or allowed to buy craft supplies. To be fair, I haven't bought many craft things. I have bought home goods. I've just started changing around my front room because I've got a new sofa coming, so I have changed out the old stuff. So everything that I had that I didn't want anymore, I have sold, ready for new stuff to come in. So it means that I haven't spent an awful lot of money. I've kept the cost down, but I have got rid of the old item first before buying a new. Think about how I spend my time and be more resourceful coming up with activities to do. I'm definitely much better at activities and going out and not spending money with that. and I'm really careful with who I spend my time with. I don't spend time with people that I don't feel like it's a two-way thing. I feel like I do that one okay. I think moving on to the next year, for my no spend year, I'm going to have a year of travelling. Not like major big travel plans, but I want to have a year where I take my son around the world and we do things and we see things. Where we've got the opportunity to. I'm just doing like short city breaks, so they're only going to be a couple of nights at a time, and just get an experience of new places that I haven't been to, he hasn't been to, so we can explore a little bit. Now that restrictions have gone, I just thought it'd be really nice if we had a little bit of an exploration year. So anything that I spend on travel is not going to be kind of tracked as such. I'm not going to share how much, well, I can share if anybody wants me to. I can share my kind of tricks for saving as much money as I can, because I tend to book everything separately and do it all independently so that I can save as much money as I can. I've just had a look on the sales for flights this holiday season, because they usually get reduced straight after Christmas, and that's the opportunity to get like £30–40 flights. So that's what I'm doing. I'm booking flights that are just going to give me some cheap little getaways, and I will plan a 1 week holiday in the summer holidays as well. I just think it's important that we get out, and that's what I want. So as I said, I'm not going to track my spend of travel. I mean, I probably will, but it's not one that I am going to limit or like have a figure attached to. It's something that I am welcome to spend as much money on travel as I want to, as long as I'm not getting into debt. So my rules for my no spend year are going to be that I'm going to batch cook more, and I'm going to batch cook at least once a week, one meal, so that I can have spare for future weeks. My next definite is that I am going to not spend any more things on my home. I've got a few things that I'm just finishing in my dining room area, so I'm going to do that, and then that's it. I'm not allowed to do any more, because I keep saying that and then I keep buying stuff for home even though I don't need anything. So that needs to stop. So I'm going to finish off the dining room area, and that is it. I've got some DIY projects but I've already bought paint, etc. for, so I'm going to do some bits and pieces, but I'm going to reduce down the amount of money that I'm spending on homeware. I'm going to allow myself to eat out. I don't mind how much I eat out, but I need to reduce the amount of money that I'm spending, like in general. So I think I haven't been sticking to £100 a month. That has not been working. 200 is probably more realistic. But I'm thinking let's do 150, because that's still relatively low. It still gives me freedom to do activities and days out without the pressure of being restricted from doing things. And I'm also going to allow myself to buy tickets for events. I've already bought loads of tickets. I've got tickets to different theatre shows, I've got tickets to different golf events that I go to, because I really enjoy that. So I'm allowed to buy tickets, but I can only buy maybe one set of tickets a month, but that's not in my spend amount. Yes, that's going to be a different budget. But I will track that. I will track how much money I spend on tickets to events, because that's an area that I want to allow, but I want to keep an eye on what I'm spending. So I want to be doing more experiences, doing more events without spending too much money, so I'm only allowed to buy one experience event ticket a month for me and my son. So that's my limit on that one. So I've got batch cooking, meal planning, I've got travel as much as I like, eat out probably once a month. I've got a limit of 150 for spend, and I'm allowed to buy one set of tickets a month for an event for a future month, all within that month. So those are going to be my rules that I stick to. You might want to do something similar or change it to suit you. You decide what works for you. At the end of the day, you're reducing your spend in areas that matter to you, so that you can either save money or clear debt or spend it on something that really matters to you. So the next thing we need to do is we need to recap how much money I have spent in the year. So I'm going to do a December no spend review, and then also how much I spent overall. Okay, so I've got my Go Girl budget planner, and I have just totted up everything that I spent in December. So let's have a look and see how I got on. Then I've added up everything for the last 6 months and then for the whole year. so we can recap the different categories and we can see how I've got on. Spend wise this month for December, I did go over 220. This is what I mean about spending more than my £100. I don't think I've done a single month this year where I've kept to that budget. It's still been low, but not as low as it could be. And that was with homeware, some gifts, and a little bit of clothes and some makeup. Yeah, I think a bigger chunk of that was on gifts and homeware. So it's still more than it needs to be. Food wise, I set myself 230, which I think I've said that I wanted to change to 250, but I did spend 280. There wasn't an awful lot of extra this month, even though it's December. I don't tend to overbuy, just like the odd, I don't know, what do I buy that's extra? Probably a couple of boxes of Quality Streets, that's probably about it. I don't overindulge at Christmas, but 280, so I think 250 is probably a realistic target to start aiming for. Petrol wise, I think I set 160 or 170, I spent 178.40. So it's roughly on budget. I think that does include 5 weeks. I think that's the thing that was about the year. So this month for December included 5 weekends for me for my pay packet. So that meant that's why I was over in the food, and that's why I'm over in the petrol where normally I would be under. So I am now mapping out in my next year's Go Girl budget planner, which I'll show you in a minute. I've now mapped out which ones are 4 weeks or 5 weeks of weekends, because I always go food shopping and petrol at a weekend, and obviously there are 52 weeks in a year, and that doesn't mean 4 weeks for a month. So I need to know which months are the extra week so that I am allocating a budget accordingly, and then I'm not surprised that I'm over budget, and it makes more sense. So my budget will fluctuate whether or not it's a 4 weekend month or a 5 weekend month. So that is my plan going forward. So for the last 6 months, I have spent £188 on homeware, £103 on makeup, £63 on activities, £142 on extra food and drinks out, gifts I spent £187, parking £8.20, clothing £296, books I spent £9 on 1 book, and health £31.24. So not an overly spendy half of the year, if I'm honest. So let's have a look at the whole year then. So for gifts I spent £337, which I still feel is quite a lot of money, bearing in mind I'm not buying for many people. I think I'm buying for people that I shouldn't be, and that's probably half the problem. Homeware, I spent £364 in total for the whole year, and like I said, I'm just finishing off some stuff in the dining room and living room. So I've got a new sofa coming, a new dining table coming, and I will need to get some new chairs potentially at some point, so I won't track that, but other than that I am now done, I hope. Clothing wise, I spent £1,183 this year, which is definitely a lot. I really went for it in the first half of the year. I spent £887 in the first half and only £296 in the last half. So I felt like I needed stuff because I'd gone through and got rid of anything that I didn't need, but I still had gaps. I still had stuff that I needed to kind of create a capsule wardrobe and make it versatile and usable and mix and match. So I feel like that was kind of essential, and I did have to buy lots more clothes for my son. So the last half of the year were mostly clothes that I bought for my son. I don't tend to go out many places that need parking, so I've done well to keep that at £37. Activities wise, 143 in total for the year. I think that could probably be more. I think I've been a bit reserved, and now that I'm doing tickets to events, I feel like that kind of area will go up anyway. Food wise and eating out, I spent less in this half of the year than I did in the first half, so I spent 312 in total for the year, which isn't too bad on eating out at like restaurants, etc., or drinks out. Makeup wise, I spent 198, and that is just core makeup for me that I use every day, so I feel like I get my money's worth out of that. I don't have any products that I don't use. Health wise, I've spent £31 this month, so £92 in total. I haven't needed to buy an awful lot of prescriptions or anything like that, so that's been really good, and generally it's been okay. Postage wise, I haven't spent anything, so I've only got £6.85 for the whole year. Book wise, I bought one book for the first half of the year for £5 and one book for the second half of the year for £9, so £14 in total, which if you know me is very good for not spending money on books. Very good. And the last area was sports. I spent £11.99 on a badminton racket, I think, for Noah. The first half of the year I haven't bought anything else since, only like gift things, but they're in a separate category. So yeah, I have done well to not spend that much money, I feel. And now that I've got my new plan, it's going to make it much easier, and I'll show you what I've done for that. So this is my old Go Girl budget planner. This is my new one. They are slightly different in size. So my new one has the same kind of information as before, so I can still track everything, and I've used the stickers a little bit more and put them around when payday is, etc. So that will be helpful. And here's an example of what I've done for my budget. So I've said that I think this is January is a 5-week month again. So I've already accounted for that, and the same for petrol. So I know that those months I will be a slightly different budget because I budget them per week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know if you're planning to do a no spend month or year below. I'd love to know how you're getting on, or if you've already done one and how you found it. And I shall see you soon for more videos about decluttering, minimalism and my no spend year. Take care, bye.